to the latest episode of Branding the Experience. We discuss ways how we can create environments where employees actually want to come to work and customers want to keep coming back. Hi, I'm Ken Bader, your host for Branding the Experience, and we have a real expert guest on sales that I can't wait to talk to him. His name is Long Lee, but let me tell you a little bit about him. He is a business relationship extraordinaire, and he is a leading expert in connecting, selling, and team building. He has accelerated the growth of many small businesses, from real estate to financial brokers to large companies like Aflac and AAA. I'm a AAA member, so I want to hear about that. Long is the founder and chief empowerment officer for Level Up Coaching and Consulting. Over 20 plus years of experience in management, sales, and leadership development, led to many accolades, including High Achiever Award. Hey, High Achiever. Trip Crown Sales Award and Six-Figure Club Award. He turned around a small business losing $84,000 a year. Wow. The positive cash flow and increased a restaurant's revenue by $800,000. And I know restaurants could definitely use that today. But enough of his bio, because I want you to hear from him. Long, welcome to the show.
Thank you very much. I'm very grateful for being here. I'm grateful for you inviting me and being able to share whatever information that would make an impact on your audience.
My pleasure, my friend, my pleasure. And, I know you're going to be a real fun discussion as well, and it's insightful for our audience. But let's start from the beginning. How did you become this sales expert? Did you just kind of roll out of bed and, build like 8 lemonade stands, or did it, at some point something click and say, you know what, I could be really good at connecting with people and adding value?
Yeah, let's put it this way. When I was born, I was completely a salesperson. It was all natural. Everything was just complete, and I'm just the way I am. I'm
cool.
Just playing with you.
Did you sell your mom your pacifier? Well, how did this work?
Yeah, it never happened that way. Let's put it that way. I was just a great talker, and sales was never in my own DNA. And what I realized, because I'm the only child, and so I didn't really get my way with a lot of things. And there's times when I got my way, and I realized it was all about being persistent, and I just kept going and going and going. So sales was never in my DNA. And so after I graduated from college, and I started working for a retail company, because I've been in management ever since I was 16 and a half. And so I was in retail management, and I said, you know what, I got to do something better than being in retail management. And at that time, it was a company called Target, and I opened up one of their stores here in San Diego. I'm sorry?
I've heard of them.
Yeah, one of the small stores. And so, I helped them open one of their stores. I developed their stores to being one of the top stores in their whole company. And then so what I ended up doing was transitioning out. And so I started in sales, and my actual first sales job was, and I've been in network marketing also, okay, that's afterwards, but my first sales job, I was lugging around R2D2, going into people's houses, and actually doing presentations, what's called a rainbow vacuum. I don't know if you remember the rainbow vacuum. They're still available.
I remember the rainbow vacuum. The hairline gives me away. I've heard of them.
I call it R2D2 because it looks like a big old R2D2 coming around. And it was going into houses and doing demonstrations and selling a $2,200 vacuum cleaner. Wow. That turned out to be no sales, a lot of presentations, and a lot of headaches, a lot of emotional drama and pain. Let's put it that way.
Yeah, I'm sure you learned a few lessons there, man.
Oh, absolutely. There's a lot of lessons that I learned from that. And from that moment, it was just continuing on being persistent and learning the sales skills, and went into a network marketing company, took a lot of great information and value from it. And that's how I started accelerating my sales skills. And as I continued, I started working for companies. And then at the same time, then I started becoming one of the superstars over with Aflac, with AAA. So then that was how I actually launched my sales, because it was just really learning about talking to people and
Sure.
really actually having conversations, not just about sales, but really relating to people. That
Yeah.
was the important thing.
Yeah, well, from one only child to another, I definitely learned how to sell, especially from the standpoint of, if something broke, there was nobody else to look for. We didn't have a dog or a cat, and I was the only kid, and I lived in Chicago, so at the time growing up, so I couldn't even blame an earthquake or something. Yeah, you should have seen it, Dad. So you got to sell your way out of a lot of issues. So I think that's where we learn it. But you said one thing. You said a lot of things that were important, but one in particular is connection. And I
Yes.
find, when we're taping this, and of course when it goes live, we're still going to be dealing with the pandemic in one way, shape, or form. And I find a lot of people where sales is an activity that's one of their top priorities, either in their actual job or as an entrepreneur, really frankly looking desperate. I mean, I get LinkedIn, and I talked about this with Rhonda Shear a few weeks ago. I get a LinkedIn message or a Facebook message or an email, somebody blind that is trying to connect with me, which in and of itself is okay, but the connection itself is a sales pitch, or it's it seems like a legitimate connection, and then I get hit upside the head with the sales pitch. You've actually learned to not do that, to make a genuine connection. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, and the genuine connection is all about just building relationships. That's the most important thing in anything that you do, whether it's creating a friendship, whether it's a lover that you want to pursue or anything. It's always about really being authentic and having that conversation with people and really understanding who the person in front of you is. And what I mean by that is there's different personalities that are out there.
Hmm.
And for you to be able to really relate, you got to understand who they are and how they are.
Yeah.
So, and it comes back down to emotional intelligence, really. And that's the foundation of sales, is emotional intelligence. And what people don't realize, that is the foundation. That's the ultra high performance, is emotional intelligence. And when you're able to connect with people, people are more likely to buy from you because they like you, they trust you, and they know that you can deliver.
Yeah.
And so building that connection is very, very important. And it's all about really being genuine, not really pushing something that people don't need. You got to be able to find the need, and then now really actually solving that solution for them. And
Yeah.
when you realize that, it becomes easy. It becomes just a fun game, and you're not going out there. It's not really pushing. And I learned this from one of my mentors. It's not really pushing a sales on them. It's actually them being attracted to you because of what you know and your experience and your knowledge. Because reality wise, everybody knows more about something than somebody else.
Hmm.
And for us, it's about how we communicate it and how we build that relationship so that people know, oh, wow, that's the expert. That's the one I want to know. And now they're being attracted to you rather than you forcing something down their throat.
Right. Right. And connection is a lot more about branding than it is about selling, frankly. Which obviously ties into the theme of the show, which is why we love having your expertise here. And I love the fact that you said, hey, whoever it is, somebody you want to date, somebody that you want, to possibly, get some mentorship from. You have to make that genuine, and I think genuine is an important word, connection. And it seems like common sense, but like Stephen Covey used to say, common sense isn't always common practice. Yeah, I do a lot of work with financial institutions, and it amazes me that everything that they do on social media, video, and all their other marketing is about pushing this loan, pushing this product. And there's nothing about what really makes them unique, why somebody should want to work with that bank or credit union over somebody else. The latter is branding. When you're pushing, all you're doing is selling, and that doesn't always work, does it, Long?
It does not work.
Yeah.
And that's the reason why people always share with you. It's all about the numbers. Selling is a numbers game. And reality wise, it is not a numbers game. It's a relationship game.
Mm-hmm.
And the way you build the relationship, it's all about connecting. And one of the things that I love is a system where you're able to find somebody's personality in less than 90 seconds and be able to understand how they operate. And now you can really genuinely connect with them based on a deeper level than just going out there. It's amazing. And that's one of the things that I love in what I do, is being able to be the resource for others.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you hit the nail on the head in finding out how they operate. Case in point, you said one thing at the New Media Summit. That's how I had the pleasure of meeting Long. The New Media Summit is great, by the way. I go to almost all of them. I get great guests, make great connections. The one thing that you mentioned in your pitch, which I thought, okay, this is not only spot on, but perfect for this show, and I need to grab this guy as a guest, was you talked about solving a problem. And that's one of the things in these this dozen of connections of deluge that I get via email and social media messages. Every one out of every 12 to 15, somebody makes a connection with me and then may send a message that actually does hit on a problem that I may have. Even if I don't have it right now, but it's just, okay, I could see where this guy or this lady is coming from. I want to stay connected with him or her, rather than blocking them from all social media and hoping that they fall off the face of the earth. So solving a problem is really key to branding and selling. Talk about solving a problem for a little bit, because I think that's key to what you said.
Yeah, it doesn't matter if you're in business. It doesn't matter if you work for somebody else. Jack Ma from Alibaba stated that the more problems you solve, the more money you make. Yeah. And so, if you're taking it from an employee standpoint, it's the employees actually solving a problem for the owner, which is allowing the owner to create more time. That's the reason why they hire this employee to do that work for that employer, so that employer can do other things for their own time. So in your own business, when you create a business, you got to be able to understand what is the need for your product or service. And so when you understand the need, now it's about delivering the solution for it to get them from point A, where they're at and where they're stuck at, to point B, which is going to be the solution that you have. And now whatever your product and service is bridging that gap.
Right.
And that's where you provide that solution to be able to make money for not only yourself, but now you're adding value to others for solving their problem.
Yes, exactly. Well said. Well, I'm going to put you a little bit on the spot, but it is an area that you've had success in. You've had success in building revenue for restaurants. And if there's one sector that I've worked with as well that's really, really hurting right now, it's restaurants. Do you have any insight into what may be the new normal, and how restaurants may be able to sell and market in that new normal? I know you probably lay awake at night at 3 a.m. thinking, this is what this is going to look like.
Actually, not 3 a.m. It was 3:32.
Okay,
I'm up and.
Yeah, usually it's 3:31 that I got to go to the can, because I'm an old man, and then at 3:32 is when I'm lying back down and the thoughts are coming. But anyhow, enough about my bathroom habits. What are you thinking of at 3:32 in the morning?
Yeah, no, thinking with the restaurant industry, with what's happening right now, one of the things that I share with a couple of restaurants is pay attention to the details. And I'll give you an example. I'm not going to name the restaurant that I recently went to, which was kind of a surprising experience. But I had the pleasure to work with Panda Express. Mm-hmm. And Panda Express is an amazing company. They pay attention to a lot of details. And that's when I started realizing the importance of details in anything that you do. And it's not just the restaurants, because with Panda Express, their standards are very high. And so I picked up a lot of things in looking at restaurants on a different level. So, one of the things that I've learned with working with Panda Express is when you walk into the restroom, are they cleaning the corners of the restroom? Are they paying attention to the details with the fixtures on top? Is it dusty? Different little things like that. And the reason for that is the habits that's being created. And so if they're paying attention to the details of the habits, that means that they're paying attention to the details of washing their hands on a regular basis, the health and sanitary for you to be able to have an enjoyable experience is one. And number two, the quality is going to be to a different level because that's the standard. Now, the restaurant that I recently went to, and it's not Pan Express, okay, so just to be clear, and I'm not going to name the restaurant. Yeah. I went there, and yes, they were wearing gloves. Now, they were taking credit cards, which is fantastic. Now, in our current situation, yes, you're taking cards and you're wearing gloves. Now, gloves is just an illusion for us to feel that we're being safe.
Yep.
When you're at restaurant industry. Reality-wise, if they're taking a credit card, you're still transferring viruses with exchanging credit cards with somebody else and the next person, different things like that. It should be a touchless, which means that you should not be able to touch their cards and moving forward. So that details is very important. Now, number two is I've paid attention to the habit. Are they washing their hands? Are they replacing the gloves after that guest? Things like that. And that person never did, kept on handling guests. What really, really surprised me was when food came out, that person was handling the food and packing it up. And there was one catering tray that was open and they were wrapping that up. And I'm going, what are you doing? Because now what's happening is these are the little details that make the difference in a business. And so when you pay attention to the little details like that, then you realize that you're number one, the important thing in a restaurant, in any restaurant, is the food quality. Because Ken, let me ask you this question. If the food is superb and the service is mediocre or kind of maybe below average, would you come back to that restaurant again?
Absolutely not. You've watched this show before because I've talked about that. I would actually rather go to a place that has an excellent experience but average food than go to a place that has superb food and kind of an experience.
Now, let me ask you this question, okay? Would you try it again one time later on down the line if that place had superb food? But your experience was, would you give it another chance?
It really depends, frankly. It would not be a definite. It would not be a definite.
Okay.
I think part of it, I'm not trying to dodge your question, but I think part of it depends on what locale I'm in. Like for instance, here in Los Angeles County, there's plenty of places with superb food. I don't need to go to that place. If I'm in, say, where my parents live, north of Milwaukee in Wisconsin, where there's limited options, if there's superb food there and I know that it's superb, I may deal with some hassle in order to get to the food.
Great. So now let me ask you this next question. The food sucks and the quality of service is superb. Would you go back there?
Nope.
Okay. So you got to understand that restaurants, the most important thing to a restaurant is the food. Mm-hmm. So when you pay attention to the little details of the habits, you pay attention to your food quality. That's the number one most important reason for a restaurant is their food quality. Mm-hmm. Now, the second is going to be customer service, which is the experience. So when you're paying attention to the little details on atmosphere, cleaning, making sure that there's no gum underneath the table or it's very cleanly, the door handles, when you open the doors, there's no dust on the corners of the door frames, things like that, the little details, you realize that the restaurant that you go to, pay attention to all the details, which means your food safety is going to be superb, your food quality is going to be superb, and your customer service is going to be superb. And this is the reason why people return. So for restaurants, restaurants needs to focus on food quality. Delivering great food quality is number one. And then the second most important thing is the experience, which is going to be how you treat customers and their customer experience and service.
I think that the food quality is always important. I think with a lack of some of the bells and whistles around it now, because people are getting takeout, curbside, and even when restaurants are opening, and hopefully when this airs, all restaurants will be open in some capacity. But some of that experience is going to not be as easy to deliver, which I think raises up the importance of the food quality. But listening to you talk is like listening and watching an Asian version of me, because I always talk. Standards. I say it all the time. The key to branding the experience is service standards. If you don't have that, you're going to have a real rough time. And I talk all the time. I can't. Yeah, it's funny because I can't just go and get a friggin' sandwich either. I'm looking at everything, given, my line of business. And I also, when it's a bad experience, I mention it on my shows, but I don't mention the name of it because I always say, much like you did, yeah, talking about that instance is helping everybody to be able to learn from those mistakes and not necessarily to disparage a particular business. But in this pandemic, I've been very, very focused on trying to go to lunch to a new place and take out food and bring it back to my home office as much as I can to support these folks. And one place I went to, I was one of two customers that were in the place. And I will give them points for cleanliness because the credit card was just one of those deals where you put in the slot and pull it out yourself, which is very good. I looked at the people that were making the food. They had all put on gloves just for my sandwich and already had a mask on. I thought that was good. And at the time that I ordered the sandwich, and she asked, "Well, do you want anything else with that?" And originally I said no, because my fat ass didn't need the fries. But then I sat there and thought, you know what? Add a Diet Coke on there. And I said, if you've already rung it up, I'll pay for it separate. Don't worry about it. It's like, no, I could just add it on. It's like, you sure? I don't want to be a pain in the ass. Like, no, I'll just add it on. It's like, okay, great. Gave her the credit card, or actually put the credit card in, paid for the thing and everything. Went and got my ticket because it was important to have a number with only two people in the entire place, waiting for food, because, we didn't want to go away from the process here.
Yeah.
And I sat and waited for my food, and she called my number. I went up. Yeah, everything was packaged fine. Nobody touched it that weren't supposed to touch it. And then I said, "Can I have my Diet Coke?" And it had been less than 5 minutes long. She goes, "Did you order a Diet Coke?" I'm like, "Did you remember just a few minutes ago we had that kind of insane diatribe of adding it on or not?" And she said, "Let me look at the tape." And she's looking at the receipts, looking for my Diet Coke. Yeah, you did. They're like, "Okay, thanks." And I thought, all right, here where you're struggling for business and there's only two people in here, and you can't remember about the freaking Diet Coke. I can't imagine what it's going to be like when things get into some new normal. And on top of
That's
that,
right.
the sandwich sucked. But
And that's a whole different conversation, right?
yeah, like I had to argue for a Diet Coke. I paid for it, then I got home and I had a crap sandwich. That's great. Guess where I'm not going back.
And it's that's why I tell people all the time. It's focus on what you're really great at. Why
Yeah.
do people see you? Whatever the needs is, whether if it's a restaurant, it's going to be the food, why people come back. Focus on that. And then now what you do is then you just leverage and add everything else on top of that so that you give people the greatest experience ever. Because that's the reason why people do things, is because of the experience.
Yes. Yep. Yeah. Somebody should do a show on that.
Yeah.
Like,
Somebody should.
yeah. That's a smart idea. Um, any top tips? Because I know in going into this new normal, selling the right way is going to be really, really important. There's going to be a lot of problems out there, but part of the problem is going to be fighting for limited resources of people, whether you're selling to consumers or businesses. Is there any number one tip or maybe top two tips in selling that you'd want to share with our audience?
Absolutely. One of the tips I would say is always consider that there's abundance, because there is an abundance there. Even though we're going to go into a new norm, and there's going to be, we don't know where our economics are going to be, if it's going to go down, if it's going to go up, we don't know. And if you consistently believe that there is a scarcity, you're going to portray that, you're going to project that. And so what you want to always know is there's always abundance of resources. It's all about your mindset. That's the number one most important thing, is how do you view things? And then now you go out there and you deliver. And the way you deliver is really get to understand people, really understand who you're talking to that's right in front of you. Because buyers, there's 4 different types of personality, and at the same time, there's 24 different buyers out there.
Yeah.
And so what you want to do is you want to be able to understand which buyer is in front of you if you're actually doing selling. And now you communicate to them on how that is going to be the best effective way in communicating. Because most salespeople that I know, they only have one presentation.
Yeah.
And reality wise, if you have 4 different types of people, you have a 1 in 4 opportunity to be able to close that deal. Now, here's the worst news. Instead of 1 out of every 4, remember what I shared earlier, there's 24 different buyers, because there's different combinations out of these 4 types of personality. So now you have less than a 4.16% chance in closing the deal. So really understanding who's the person in front of you, understanding the skills of personality. And one of the things that I really love and why I incorporate it into my sales system, what's called the bank methodology, is because you're able to predict people's buying behaviors in less than 90 seconds by utilizing these 4 cards right here, which is going to be the actual banners that are right behind me. Mm-hmm. And when you understand the skills, now you're able to communicate very effectively. So this system itself was designed by Sherry Tree, amazing lady. And the system itself is actually being validated by science by San Francisco State University. They've already released a couple white papers on proving how this methodology actually works, and it actually works on people. And they did the research, and they actually provided the data, and they're doing more researches based off of industry. So that's one of the things I would share with you, because once you understand how the person buys in regards to the buyer that's in front of you, now you just speak to them based off of their own personality, right, so that you can really relate and connect with people.
Yeah, great advice. Yeah, it reminds me of a couple things. One, a mentor many years ago when I was running marketing and we were having trouble with a campaign. Yeah, he said, you know what? Just make it all about them. And I think what you're saying in looking for, one of those, 24 specific types of personalities, you're genuinely trying to make it all about them and connect with, not just sell, but connect with them the way they want to be connected with. And on the other end of it, it reminds me of a colleague of mine who knows a particular product like the back of his hand, and gets frustrated because he thinks he should be selling more, because frankly the product does kind of sell itself. But his approach, I even joke with him. I say, dude, you're a one-trick pony. If that one trick, using your language, if that one trick happens to coincide with that 1 out of 24, you got him, man. Because he has a habit of selling based upon fear, and for some people that does work, but for others it just makes them shut down. And I always say, why don't you try this other approach and see if it works. That's right. But you're spot on with your advice. Last question that I have for you, Long, is for our audience that really do need to tap into your expertise. How best can they find you?
Yeah, you can go to Bank on Long, BANK, on long, on me, bankonlong.com/, branding the experience. And when you go there, you're going to be able to have access to a lot of resources in there. And at the same time, you can get a hold of me and we can go from there.
Perfect. Perfect. I'm going to go there too because I could always learn more about sales myself. But Long, you've been an excellent guest, given a lot of good advice. And just as important, I had a lot of fun talking to you today.
I enjoyed talking to you also. It was a great conversation that we had.
Terrific. My pleasure to have you, and my pleasure to have all of you watching this show. And here's hoping that you're branding the experience at a very high level for all those you serve. Take care. Thank you for watching Branding the Experience. I hope you enjoyed the show. If you're looking for a speaker on branding the experience, on workplace culture, or on business strategy, I have a number of different options for you. And my approach is always to entertain first, engage second, and educate third. It's a formula that leaves my audience not only laughing and enjoying, but also learning. So if you want a great speaker on branding, culture building, or strategy, I'd like to hear from you. Simply send me an email at kbator, BATOR, at btcinc.net, or to learn more about the presentations that I've done that have been successful in the past, go to www.btcinc.net.